Colin.
Yes.
Last week we had a special segment, Liar, where someone called you a liar and Nate Fox a liar at the same time. We eventually, cooler heads prevailed. Nobody was a liar.
Right.
There was just a bit of confusion.
Right.
However, the Prince of Darkness writes in with another liar segment.
Oh, Jesus.
He says, Beyond.
Beyond.
My name is Eddie. I've been watching the endings for Infamous and Infamous 2, and I think Nate Fox lied to us. Let me explain. In Infamous 1, after you defeat the last boss, he shows you his past, and you hear him talk about the first son. It goes on to explain his story and who he is. Now in Part 2, you just get 2 different endings, in which Nate Fox said the good ending is canon. That, my friends, has to be a lie, because the good ending, no conduits survive.
That's not true.
Not true at all. That's the big thing. This is something that confused me too, Prince of Darkness. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. When we saw, when we got the second son, and we were like, well, which ending's real? And they're like, oh, the good ending's real. And it was like, I remember so distinctly Zeke talking about conduits around the world dying. But when you go back and watch the video, Zeke actually says some conduits around on the other side of the earth were dying. Everyone inside Empire City who was a conduit dropped dead for sure. Then some around the world got hit by the waves too. But some, I guess, were too strong for that. Maybe Infamous Second Son will touch on this.
Maybe. Do you like Infamous?
Yeah, I do. I played both of them to death, actually. I like the way that I describe Infamous. It's one of those games that feels really good to play.
Yes,
like
right?
It's so appealing for that reason. You're never bored because just running around the city feels good, and that's why I'm really excited for Second Son.
Me too. We get it soon. And they reiterated to me, because I was talking to them when I was at Sucker Punch, I'm like, I am not convinced that Cole's not in this game. And they were like, we've been pretty clear that Cole is not in this game. And so I was
Spoilers.
thinking, you know who will be in the game?
Zeke.
Yes.
Yeah.
Zeke has got to be back.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: is like
There's got to be a cameo.
Yeah,
we've
I hope
talked about this at length, you and I at home in our heart-shaped bed. Is the fact that they've lied to us, yes, once. And then they have to continue to lie. This is the same thing we were talking about. IGN put up an article not too long ago, like the biggest flip-flops or something in gaming, right? And Jaffe got called out in it for saying he wasn't working on Twisted Metal, he wouldn't be at E3. And then he came to E3 and showed Twisted Metal.
And a ice cream truck he's coming out of.
Yeah, exactly. And so then when that article went up, somebody tweeted at him and Justin, who wrote the article, and then they all started going back and forth. Not in a bad way, but in a way of like, Jaffe's like, yeah, I lied, and I'd lie again, and I'll have to lie. You know what I mean? Like, people want to surprise you. They don't want to. It's not like they're under oath when we ask them questions. Like they're selling you a product and a story, and they don't want to be like, nope, can't answer that.
I also think it's got to the point now where people are so rabid for information, they will find information. You know, it's and people have to lie. I think it's got to the point where people actually have to lie now because, otherwise there's going to be no mystery to anything.
When we finished Infamous 1, when I finished Infamous 1, I immediately had the theory of what was going to happen in Infamous 2 with the Beast and John and everything. And it turned out to be right. And I remember I bounced that off Sucker Punch guys, like, at the first preview event. And they're like, interesting theory. They can't be like, yep, you've nailed the game. Sorry, no reason to play it now. Hope you had fun.
Oh, I can't wait to play it, though.
Prince of Darkness goes on a bit here. He's just rambling more and more about Kessler, though. It's pure speculation. But if Kessler is the second son, then that explains the name. And maybe, just maybe, not only did he go through time, but he went forward in time to an alternate reality, thus explaining Seattle in some place to resemble a real city. I kind of understand what he's going for. Because a lot of people had talked about, too, even though we had done a Rewind Theater where we called out, like, this shadow kind of looks like Kessler. We kind of moved on. Other people now are just getting hung up on that. I don't think this involves Kessler.
I don't either. And the reason so I asked him about Seattle because I thought it was really interesting about, obviously they're in Bellevue. It's a suburb of Seattle, and it makes sense that they would make a game that was like, in Seattle. But, Empire City was New York City, but it was still Empire City. New Marais, obviously. Yeah. New Swamp is New Orleans. But they went real this time. And what they were saying was that, like, they had no real landmarks. Like, at least this was at least part of what they were saying. It was like, there's no landmarks in the game. Like, New Orleans has, like, the French Quarter and all this stuff, but nothing that, like, differentiates it from maybe another southern city. But, like, when they put the Space Needle in there, they're like, well, what the could it possibly be? And, like, do we make, like, an alternate Space Needle now, or do we just, like, embrace the fact that this is Seattle?
Well,
and they told me that they were calling it Seaport.
Oh, really?
For a while.
Right. That's funny. Yeah, one of the things they talked about when they showed us the game, when I went up there for PAX, and they were talking about, using real cities, that the technology is finally there that they feel like they can accurately represent Seattle. Granted, in a microcosm where it's not street for street, but your districts are there, and they are so varied, and, Space Needle's there, and there are the pink car wash and stuff.
I have a question for you guys, and, like, forgive me if it's really obvious, but has there ever been a game set in Seattle before?
I don't think so. I mean, there must be.
Yeah.
something.
Tony Hawk, was there anything like that? They were
Oh
just
yeah,
stupid
maybe
there.
maybe a map with Tony Hawk. But I don't know. I mean, nothing that comes to mind.
Yeah, I just think. I mean, I think.
Oh, Sleepless in Seattle.
that's what you were
The
thinking.
Tom Hanks RPG we all remember.
I just think, I guess, when I played it, it was so refreshing to play in a city that I'd never played in
Right.
before.
Yeah, it's
you know
not
what I
New
mean?
York,
Like,
right? It's not Manhattan.
It wasn't New York. It wasn't some other version of New York. It felt new and it felt really real. And yeah, again, that's massively exciting to me.
Okay.